2026 provides an opportunity to deliver even more progressive wins this November. Join us this summer ahead of the midterms by investing in the Progress Texas Summer Sustaining Donor Drive, funding pro-democracy, pro-justice, progressive messaging made by Texans for Texans. At Progress Texas, we're asking our supporters to become monthly donors, and for those already on the team, to increase their monthly support. Because with your partnership, we can get the message out across Texas in this critical year. We'll thank you with perks for progress. Choose from our exclusive Resist coffee mug, a Progress Texas summer koozie, or a progressive button pack. Plus, you'll get a shout out on the Daily Dispatch. Thanks in advance for doing your part to build the progressive Texas we all want to live in today.
My name is Benjamin Wayne Clodfelter. I'm a disabled veteran. I spend all of my time doing activism and advocacy for the LGBT community and for other marginalized communities. Progress Texas is fighting to try to make this country a better place and change the direction that we're heading to one that's more positive and will make people's lives better.
It is August 6th, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch. I'm Tatum Owens. Progress Texas amplifies progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our no-paywall podcasts and digital media, we reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's made possible by folks like you who invest in independent, progressive media by Texans for Texans. We can't do what we do without your support. Our thanks to Kelly Bryant, Linda Miller, and Christina Ayala. Been a busy week for the top ballot candidates running for John Cornyn's Senate seat, with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and State Rep James Talarico each releasing their own economic agendas, responding to one of the midterm election's top anticipated issues for voters. I recommend you read the reporting respectively from Gromer Jeffers Jr. at the Dallas Morning News and Kayla Gao at the Texas Tribune. But for a quick breakdown on this bread and butter issue, let's examine. Paxton proposes tax cuts for healthcare, homes, and children from a Republican in Texas so unexpected, I know, naming that Washington made Texas expensive, not Abbott and Friends. Specific policies include medical tax deductions, permanent child savings accounts, and doubling the child tax credit, something Dems have also proposed, including Talarico. The Talarico campaign is quoted as saying, quote, "The idea that Ken Paxton, a multimillionaire who owns 15 properties, has suddenly decided to care about Texans' pocketbooks on his 479th day of running for U.S. Senate is laughable," unquote. I have to agree, laughable seems applicable here, and I think it's worthwhile to share two headlines that evoke that same sentiment, just for fun. From Texas Monthly, quote, "Ken Paxton now has to do the unthinkable. Try." Or another, "Ken Paxton is acting like he thinks he could lose," quote. Both encapsulate the transparent attempts from Paxton to pivot and appeal to Texas voters in an extremely unfavorable time for Republicans. That's made even more apparent by his being such a MAGA bulldog in the background previously, and certainly not on economic issues, fighting through press releases and targets on trans kids in hospitals. By the way, Texas Children's Hospital officially has to provide free detransition care as of this week, according to the Houston Chronicle, and that's thanks to Paxton's dogged background work. Point being, Paxton continuously reminds us, whether in a failed press conference or through his Attorney General press releases, this is not a man of the people, and that's certainly reflected by the Texans that would yet again have their pockets and public goods raked through if his economic policies were put into action. Meanwhile, Talarico addressed what he calls the, quote, affordability crisis, proposing policies like raising the minimum wage, targeting healthcare and housing economic plans, such as canceling medical debt, enacting universal child care, and also increasing the child tax credit. And, of course, taxing the rich, i.e. billionaires and corporations, for what they owe. If Paxton's economic enemy was the elite in Washington, then Talarico's named opposing force is, as you'd expect, naming that our economic crisis is tied to corruption from billionaire political influence. I think you listeners should go read the rest, and I'll finish the story by sharing that as each of these candidates appeal to voters with economic populist rhetoric, it's important to remember who is helping bankroll these campaigns and just how that might influence this election, especially with Talarico just breaking records this week for raising more than any other general election nominee in a decade. You can refer to Philip Jankowski at the Dallas Morning News, who released reporting on each candidate's top donors. Next up, two updates on public and higher education. First, from Lawrence Maurer at the Houston Chronicle, the state has released its first report on the 85,000 voucher program students. The highlights follow as such. We know more about the demographics of these students now. They are mostly low income, 80% come from households with less than an equivalent to $66K a year, and they are mostly white, disproportionately compared to the public ed system, 41% to 24%. Hispanic students trail that wide margin with 28% enrollment compared to 53% in public schools. 30% of approved applicants did not accept a voucher. That's a staggering 85K out of 122,000 total students. With that in mind, there's lots of questions remaining, like why this racial skew and what are the reasons applicants didn't participate. But if you ask recently appointed Texas Comptroller Don Huffines, he says the program speaks for itself, so not to worry, I guess. By the way, he's busy this week proposing Elon-style Doge staff and salary cuts, so more to come on that, I'm sure. Lastly, Jessica Priest at the Texas Tribune reports that 4 professors and the American Association of University Professors, the AAUP, are suing the Texas A&M university system for its restrictions on race, gender, and sexuality courses. Of course, this comes after heightened scrutiny and restrictions across the board in our public higher ed institutions, but this was exemplified by A&M in its ousting of presidents and professors alike because of DEI-related censorship. The group alleges that the restrictions infringe on the professors' First Amendment rights and that they are much too vague to teach without fear of disciplinary action. They ask the judge to rescind the restrictions and decide on this policy as unconstitutional. An important story we'll keep you apprised on regarding every Texan's First Amendment's rights in an increasingly authoritarian, censored society. Houston listeners, the next episode of our In Progress Roundtable show comes to you on the radio on KPFT 90.1 FM at 6:30 p.m. every Thursday, and San Antonio listeners, it's on in your town, my town, at the same time this afternoon on Empower House Radio 101.5 FM. With your support, we hope to continue to expand our radio footprint across Texas this year. Click the link in the show notes to make your tax-deductible donation to help us reach new audiences via Texas Radio. This election year, you can support the real Free Press by investing in pro-democracy, pro-justice, progressive storytelling delivered by Texans for Texans. Join Progress Texas this summer ahead of the midterms and become a monthly donor today, or increase your giving during our summer sustaining donor drive. With your partnership, we can reach more independents, progressives, and youth voters who must be mobilized to win elections this fall. And we'll thank you with Perks for Progress, your choice from our exclusive Resist coffee mug, a sweet Progress Texas summer koozie, and a progressive button pack. Plus, you'll get a shout out on the Daily Dispatch. See the link in the show notes or hit progresstexas.org to join the family during our summer sustaining donor drive. That is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for today. Links to all of these original stories can be found in our show notes. Learn more about what we do and how you can get involved at progresstexas.org. I'm Tatum. Thanks for listening, and see you tomorrow.